I'm Robert Burns, and welcome once again to another edition of Sound Off Louisiana. And I will tell you, I have been anxiously awaiting this. I want to introduce my special guest today. It's my honor to have recently retired LSP Captain Heath Guillotte joining me as my guest today. And he's going to have an opportunity to tell you his story in his own words, but I just want to let everyone know the tremendous admiration and respect that I have for this gentleman. He served 27 years at State Police. Notice I said recently retired, and he will give you some of the specificity of what brought about his decision to retire. And so with that, I'm going to return to my usual position. Most of you know, usually when I have a guest, I just stay behind the camera. But in this particular instance, I wanted to come and be beside this gentleman because he has my just tremendous respect. And I thank you for the service that you provided for 27 years. And I'm honored.
Well, thank you very much.
I'm honored to have you. So I'm going to get back to my usual role, and you can just take the floor away, Captain.
Okay, well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate this opportunity to get my story out there as far as what took place with me and my experience. And you're right, I've been with the state. I was with the state for 27 and a half years. Had a wonderful career. I don't feel like I worked a day in my life. I loved my job. I love serving the state of Louisiana, and I love the people I worked with. Unfortunately, I retired a little sooner than I wanted to, or sooner than I expected that I was going to retire, but I felt at the time it was the best thing for me, to do. My adventure, I guess, leading toward my retirement started several years ago, a couple years ago, when Robert Hodges got promoted to Major in Lafayette, Louisiana for Region 2 Patrol. I was on that list, as well, considered for that promotion. And our policy states that if you are going to be promoted, you have to live within 75 miles of the office that position serves, or be willing to move within 90 days. So I had issue with Robert Hodges, not personally. I had no issues with him personally at that time. He and I have never had any coarse words or any conflicts. But I just had issue with him putting in for that position when he lived outside of the mileage that policy requires.
Right.
And I complained to the current colonel at that time, which was Colonel Davis, and had a meeting with him and expressed, that I didn't agree with that taking place. And what seems to be common amongst the leaders in this administration, the response was, well, we'll just have to change policy, I guess, which didn't sit well, of course. What's the point in having policy if you change it when it doesn't benefit you as the colonel? Sure. So it was shortly after that where I noticed in the database that Robert Hodges' address was changed to a residence in Lafayette, and I'm not going to provide that. I don't want to provide that resident, but it was changed. Certainly. And I will say this: everything I speak about, I have proof of. Right. And to me, you're lying in a database. You're giving a false address in the database. Of course, I had issue with that as well. How can you hold your guys accountable for, being truthful or accurate when you yourself are not going to abide by that? So when he became Major in Region 2 CID, his office was in Breaux Bridge, Louisiana, at the Region 2 headquarters. Well, when he got there, he had issue with the parking. Wanted me to redesignate some parking areas so he could park on cement because he didn't want to walk on gravel and get the bottom of his shoes dirty. Now, I know this sounds crazy, but I can assure you it's 100% accurate. I refused to do that. I refused to make one of my guys move and park somewhere else. But that was another little encounter he and I had. And next thing I knew, he was parked on the handicap ramp, backed up to the front door. So I confronted him about that. You know, hey, look, that's not a good look for us. You can't park on the handicap ramp. Now, I'm a captain, he's a major, but as captain of CID for Region 2, I guess the head of the region building or whatnot. So I talked to him about that, and he moved. You know, he moved to a parking spot where he had to take 2 steps on gravel, and kind of, you know, that's where it was. And then shortly after that, he gets appointed to colonel. Well, I kind of said, well, I think I sealed my fate, you know, and I didn't realize how right I was.
Oh boy.
Every January, my family and I go on a hunting trip, and I film videos every year with my kids. It's just something we do, having fun. Guillotte and Guillotte Outdoors is what we call it, and it's just I put it on social media, and it's just me having fun with my kids in the deer stand. And so one year, January of 2024, I did a video of hunting, several of them. And it was as a character called the Iceman, and it just mimics Paul Wall, a rapper out of Houston who calls himself the Iceman. And wasn't long after I got back from hunting where I got confronted about the videos, saying that they were racially motivated and they were offensive and whatnot. So I took them down. I adamantly disagreed about that, but I took the videos down, and because I didn't just agree with them, I ended up at first I was told it was going to be a verbal counseling. You know, hey, look, we're just talking to you. Just take the videos down, blah, blah, blah. And that's it. Nothing else will be done. So I took them down, but I said, look, I disagree. I don't think they are. I said, you know, I tried to get them to tell me what race I was offending. Nobody would ever say. And look, basically, they felt, or they wouldn't say it, but they felt I was offending African-American race by having a grill in my mouth, my hat turned sideways, and actually the rapper I was imitating was white, you know, so it had nothing to do with race. And like I told him, it's not racial, it's cultural. I grew up, you know, in the 90s when this guy was a popular artist. I not grew up in the 90s, but that's when he came into fruition, and I enjoyed his music. But anyway, moving right along, you know, my relationship with this administration has been touch and go. I stand up for what I feel is right. I don't cave to pressure, whether it's above me in a chain of command. If it's not right, I'm not going along with it. I stand up for the guys I worked with. If the guys I worked with had an issue and were right, I stood up for them, no matter what the opinion was of the upper command. And you can talk to, I'm not saying to go talk to them, but you can talk to anybody that I worked with. And you were at my retirement party. I was. So you heard some people speak, and
yes, I did.
I think they were a little overly complimentary, but I appreciate it.
It was very well attended too, I might add.
It was. Very humbled by that. Local law enforcement, people that I grew up with in law enforcement prior to working for the state, because I worked for a city agency prior to coming to the state police. Were there, so I was.
And that was around August 14th, if I remember right, give or take a day.
Yes, sir. So I was
thank you for the invitation as well.
I'm glad you attended. Originally, I didn't know you were invited.
Yeah, that's something we haven't told folks. His wife, very briefly, his wife wanted my presence to be a surprise, but she inadvertently sent a text that was intended for me to him, and so the surprise was spoiled. So
yes,
but. And let me just say one thing very briefly. He and I have talked about this. It's good humor. He said, look, I don't want you to take this the wrong way. He said, but you may not have, a lot of folk may not come up and speak with you because, you know, there could be some ramifications. So, oh, look, I understand. Well, he called it right. And so I sat down at a table, and let's just say I had the whole table to myself. And to tell you what a gentleman this is, after about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes where it was very obvious no one else was going to sit by me, you're looking at a gentleman that came over to me and said, oh no, we're not going to have this. You come sit at the table with my family. So I very much appreciate that. And boy, the music, I mean, it was a great time, but I don't want to infringe on our time here, but it was great.
Well, I appreciate that. My wife stressed out a lot to make that. I don't know how she would have ever kept it a secret and planned on it being a surprise, but I appreciate her efforts for sure. She definitely worked hard on that. You forgive me, where was I?
Well, that's my fault on that. But you were saying you can talk to anybody.
Oh yeah, that's right. And they'll tell you that I'll stand up for my guys. And unfortunately, Louisiana State Police, I want to say this. I love the agency. I love the guys I worked with there. I may not have always agreed with the administration, but I love the agency. I love the people, and I love the job. Most administrations you could have a disagreement with and move on, but this administration, not so much, and it's unfortunate because we should look for people that disagree with us to keep us on the right track. We don't always have the right information. We don't always have all the answers, and it's good to have people there that are willing to say, hey, look, it may not be the best idea. Right. And I've always been that person, willing to do that. Unfortunately, it was detrimental. Well, I'm not going to say unfortunately, because I can put my head down and be proud of my career. So I definitely don't want to say unfortunately, but it led to different circumstances than I intended for the ending of my career. Anyway, I lost my train of thought.
We were progressing gradually toward.
So I had the video out that I posted from hunting, and they had controversy with it. I disagreed with what they felt. So instead of it being a verbal counseling, it ended up being a written counseling, and I think that was kind of like the telltale sign of what I was going to be dealing with. If you disagree with them, where they're just going to increase, the punishment, so to speak. It wasn't a whole lot of issues in between then and August of 2024. But come August, at the time I was the in criminal investigation, so I was the commander of Region 2 CID, which included Troop I, C, and D areas, and we conducted investigations, criminal investigations, and the main crux of what we did was officer-involved shootings for other agencies. And of course, we had the Force Investigation Unit that did officer-involved shootings for major use of forces for state police. Well, in August of 2024, I got transferred without warning from CID to FIU. My executive officer at the time, who has since retired because of it, was being transferred back to the road.
Oh, okay.
And the reason for that is we negotiated a new lease. What we believe the reason for that is. We negotiated a new lease for the Breaux Ridge Region 2 headquarters. And in that negotiation, the lease was going to go up, but they were going to build a new building for detectives, because the building that the detectives were in was dilapidated. It's an old building, it's sinking, and it had some structural issues. So they were going to build a new building, and that money was allocated through the new lease for that. Well, when Robert Hodges was promoted to colonel, he shut that down and wanted the parking lot paved. He felt that was a better use of resources, was to pave the parking lot. And my XO was like, I'd rather do something for the guys to give them a nice place to work. Let's take care of them, and then we'll work on the parking lot. Well, next thing you know, he's being transferred to the road. So he retired, and I don't blame him. another employee that worked with me was transferred, and I was transferred all at the same time. And I went to the Force Investigation Unit, in which I'm thankful that I was allowed to go there, because that's what I know, use of force and criminal investigations involving uses of force. That's where I had my done most of my investigative career. And so I was fortunate to go there and worked with a great group of guys and gals in that section. Very, very knowledgeable and guys that want to do the right thing for our troopers and our citizens in the state. And fast forward along, just to give, whenever there was a major incident, and as a commander, I would send what's called a situational report.
Yes.
We call it a sit rep up, which is a very brief summary of what took place, and it would go up through the chain of command. Well, Easter weekend, we had an incident, and I sent this sit rep up, and I typed all the lieutenant colonels, Colonel Hasselbeck, Colonel Hodges, Colonel Besson. Thought I was including Colonel Robert Burns in it. Well, lo and behold, technology got me. And I never realized it until I got a call from Colonel Besson, who was the chief of staff at the time, or is the chief of staff, the number 2 guy in the agency, saying that I emailed the wrong Robert Burns, which I emailed you.
Yes, and we will provide what you emailed with a little bit of redacting, but we will provide it.
And I immediately emailed you after I realized what had happened and said, look, I apologize for including you on this email. It was inadvertent. It was a departmental email. I apologize for any headaches or hardships it might cause in the future. And you replied back, hey, it happens. I understand. It's human error, which it's what it was. It was not intentional. I was not trying to disseminate any information.
And I just want to briefly interject. I don't want you to lose your train of thought. I'm going to briefly interject. This is not the first time something like this has happened. I've gotten an email from Faye Morrison, who was intended to go to the trooper Robert Burns. She immediately followed that, saying, please, I'm relying on your integrity. Please delete this. And I assured her I did, which I did. I never looked at it. And I'm just telling you the truth. I've never looked at it. I saw her email asking me to delete it. I did so. I got a phone call once from Melissa Mady, who thought she was calling the Robert Burns, the trooper. And I kind of played, because I actually couldn't ring the bell who this was. And then it dawned on me, and she says, oh, wait, I've got the wrong Robert Burns. I said, okay, no problem. And then lastly, Colonel Hodges himself, right before an LSPC meeting, he said, look, I want you to take that to Robert Burns. And the person headed right toward me, and Colonel Hodges said, no, not him. Boy, I can see this is going to cause confusion. So you're not the only one that...
Yeah, and it was just a simple mistake.
Right.
Now, granted, I should have paid attention more, but there was no intention to disseminate information without authorization. Well, that was on a Saturday, I believe, Saturday morning. The 21st, which I believe was the Monday or Tuesday after, I got served with a letter from Internal Affairs saying that I was under investigation for unauthorized dissemination of information. Now, whenever I was notified that this occurred, I went through my emails. And because you and I had correspondence back in 2023.
Correct.
Regarding a complaint I filed with the EEOC regarding for discriminatory promotional practices from the last administration. And you had information that you published in an article that the department refused to give me.
Yes.
That I needed to provide the investigator with EEOC to substantiate my complaint.
Correct.
So I reached out to you via email. You provided that information to me.
I did.
And I thanked you. And actually, I provided you a copy of my promotional summary. Now, it had all the state police information taken off of it. It was just my career, what year I got hired on, what divisions I've served in, my education, what prior law enforcement I had, awards, disciplinary actions, accommodations, things like that.
Right.
That's what the form contained. and it was just my information. And I suggested, hey, look, these forms might benefit you,
Yes.
you know, in your research.
I remember it.
Well, so that's how your name was in my phone, was because I had a previous email contact with you. And apparently when I was typing in Robert Burns, Lieutenant Colonel, and I thought I was typing, it auto-populated you
Yes.
in that email. So when I realized what had happened that Saturday morning, I went and I deleted all of our correspondence. I deleted it from my emails and I deleted it from my trash because I didn't want this to ever happen again.
Right.
And in fact, I went on my phone and simulated typing the name in again to make sure it wasn't going to happen again.
Right.
Now I did save your response to my email. I saved my email to you and your response to my email from that day.
Sure.
And printed that out just in case, you know, I would need that to say, hey, look, it was just a mistake. And he promised that he wasn't going to publish anything on it, and you didn't.
I did
and
not.
I appreciate that.
Right.
So anyway, I'm under IA investigation for it. I don't know if they ever contacted you,
They did not.
which I'm not sure how you do a thorough and complete investigation without contacting all parties involved in the case. I mean, I've been a detective and in CID for a long time, and that's a new one for me. But lo and behold, I have my interview. I give my side of the story, what happened. Not my side of the story, I give what happened, in my opinion. Then I get my letter, I have a meeting with Colonel Hodges, where I have to go and get my letter of intended discipline. Which I'm thinking, based off of the matrix, you know, we have a matrix for discipline that shows you exactly where you're going to be. A letter of counseling was what, based on the matrix, I was going to get, which I 100% deserved.
Yeah.
Because it happened, you know.
It happened,
I don't
right.
deny that it happened, but it was human error. It wasn't out of malice.
Right.
So we sit down, and there's two other lieutenant colonels in the room, and it starts out with Colonel Hodges telling me that, look, we know that the email you sent was a mistake. Nobody doubts that there was no ill intent or no malice involved in it, but because you're a captain, you should know better. I'm going to give you 16 hours suspension.
Okay.
Which I thought was a bit harsh.
Sure.
In my opinion, maybe I'm mistaken, but that was my opinion on it. You know, I felt it was harsh. I expressed that. He disagreed. He said that, I said, well, according to the matrix, it doesn't align with that. And he said, well, you're a commander, therefore I hold you at a higher standard. And I expressed that policy doesn't separate discipline for commanders and personnel. We all fall under the same matrix. Which I can understand if it was an action that was done out of malice, or if I intentionally violated policy as a commander. I could understand being held at a higher standard for that, 100%.
Oh, sure.
But anyway, he expressed that every trooper in our agency should know better than, under any circumstances, to have contact with people like Chris Nakamoto, Robert Burns, Lee Zurich, and he even included P. Diddy, Sean Combs, and at the time he was currently being charged with some sexual assault as a sexual predator. I don't know if he considers all of y'all in the same bubble, but he definitely said we should never be having contact. No trooper should ever, under any circumstances, have contact with people like y'all.
Wow.
Which I thought that was a bit harsh, but
Well, and I'm going to interject very briefly because I don't want you to lose your. If he believes that that's not happening, he is living in a dream world. So that may be his thoughts. It's not reality. You continue.
Okay. So back up a little bit. After I did my interview in May for the first incident where I accidentally sent you the email.
Right.
I got served with a second target letter from Internal Affairs because I admitted that you and I had previously had contact, and I explained to him what it was. So back in 2023, almost 3 years ago, 2022, 2023, almost 3 years ago, they started an investigation for what I did 3 years ago by contacting you, asking you for information to help me provide evidence for my EEOC complaint,
Yes.
which policy requires me to do. Requires me to provide all information necessary. The agency refused to give it to me. I reached out to you.
Right.
So they started a second IA investigation on that occurrence, on the fact that I contacted you back then to get that information.
Yes.
During the second interview from Internal Affairs, I noticed some things that were odd. I noticed an attorney show up. And during the interview, they focused on false statements. You know, they kind of alluded to me lying, and I said, no, I didn't lie. I said, I don't ever recall sending that email, and I think they make the comment, so you're telling us this is not, you did not send this email? I said, of course I'm not telling you that. You got it in your hand. You know?
Yeah.
I absolutely did. I don't recall sending that to him, but obviously I did. You know, and it's my information. It's
Yes.
not. I didn't disseminate anybody else's information. I disseminated my career.
That is correct.
And my career progress to you. I could see the writing on the wall. I could see what they were trying to go for.
Right.
I felt that they were going to be pursuing termination.
Yes.
You know, and if that occurred, they don't necessarily have to give me the right. Give me the option to retire, not the right. Give me the option to retire or be terminated. They've done that on numerous circumstances with troopers that have gotten in trouble.
Right. Especially here in the last year.
Right. And,
Numerous.
But they don't have to.
They don't have to. I
And
understand.
so I went home and I contacted retirement. Got my information. If I were to retire, I sat down with my wife and we decided that the best thing for us was that I retire. So I did. It was 2 years earlier than I wanted to.
Right.
I loved what I did. I loved the people I worked with. I had a great career, and I wasn't quite ready for it to end, but it happened. And everything happens for a reason. I'm a firm believer in that.
Yes.
You know, and whenever we retire, we have the option to purchase our service weapons, which is done by 99.9% of the troopers that retire, and receive a retirement ID. So I filled out the documentation to purchase my weapons, and lo and behold, a couple months went by. I reached out to Internal Affairs to find out about the status of it when they claimed they never got it, so I resubmitted it. Well, it was shortly after that, I get a call from Internal Affairs saying that my request to purchase my weapons and for a retirement ID was denied by Colonel Hodges. The captain of IA said there was no reason given, just denied it.
Okay.
I know why he denied it. It was just the last opportunity he had to punish me, so to speak.
Right.
I find it odd that, not odd, but, troopers have retired in lieu of termination for being arrested.
Yes.
And troopers have retired in lieu of termination for numerous things, but they were allowed to purchase their weapons.
Yes.
And look, I have plenty. It's not about having another weapon. It's about passing something down to my children. Because my little one, he's 15. He asked me, just yesterday afternoon, Daddy, they really not going to let you buy your weapons?
Wow.
Because I had planned on passing it down to him and to my other son, who's in the Army right now. But unfortunately, I won't be able to do that. And I've reached out to some representatives who have reached out to Colonel Hodges, and spoke to him, and the only response I got was, he is mad as a hornet at you.
Yeah. And go ahead.
So that's kind of where I'm at. I gave 27 and a half years of my life and served this state and this agency with dignity, with pride, and never once had a complaint filed against me. Going back to the video saying that they were racially motivated or whatnot, I worked 6 years as an interdiction officer on I-10. Never once had a complaint filed against me saying that there was anything racial about my traffic stops, or any traffic stops I ever made. Had an unblemished career, and it's kind of disappointing that this is how, you know, it comes to end.
I can sense that it would be, and I want to again thank you for your 27 years of dedicated service.
I would, like I said, I wish circumstances would have been different. You
Sure.
know, I know that there's been talk around the agency that I leaked information. I was the leak. I've never leaked any information to you other than provide you with my very own promotional summary.
Right.
Just to show you what I think. I recommended that, hey, this would be a good document for your research. And only provided you with mine, just so you know what it looked like.
Now it came back to me. Thank you for buying me some time on that. I'm sure there are some folk that have to wonder, well, why didn't you complete that table? I was building a table showing every promotion and the circumstances around some folks that decided to leave, you know, getting the exit interviews and whatnot. Well, when Lieutenant Stelly filed his formal racial discrimination lawsuit, which I have covered extensively, I felt like, okay, this is going to be a much better forum to bring all of that out, because I'm not going to lie, it was an enormous amount of work, even doing as much as I did in the table I did, and it was going to take a lot more work. I mean, y'all can't see it, but I'm holding, he will verify, I'm holding the stack of paperwork I got was humongous. And so I decided that it would be a more feasible approach. Unfortunately, or the reality is, Lieutenant Stelly's lawsuit, the judge was rather, in my opinion, strongly worded in granting a motion for summary judgment on behalf of state police. Now, he has appealed it to the Fifth Circuit, but probably we're never going to see laid out bare and in an open courtroom some of what he wanted to present. And that's the reason that I kind of paused it. I said this would be much more direct way, because I would have attended, make no mistake, I would have attended that trial, and I still will if there is one. It's just looking pretty bleak. I don't look for the Fifth Circuit, in my own opinion, I do not look for the Fifth Circuit to overturn that judge's ruling. I could be wrong, but I just wanted to say that because I know there are bound to be some people that say, well, you never finished it, and I did not. So if there's folks out there wondering, I'm sure they're bound to be. That's why it was Lieutenant Stelly filing his suit. I felt like, okay, this will be a better forum. But there were numerous complaints about some of the proclivities of the former colonel. And I don't have to go into detail because we've all aired it all before. So, I mean, it's far from a perfect world in state police. And in doing the things that I do, my whole goal is to try to make this an agency that we can all be proud of, that we will all have tremendous admiration and respect for. And I'm just sorry to have to say right now, it's a long ways from being there. It's the only thing I can say. But I don't take pleasure from exposing these things. I do it because, I mean, I was a fraud investigator with the federal government, and I think I do this reasonably well. And I think I have protected my sources, even in a limited instance like you've referenced. Because if you ever don't protect them, you won't have sources.
Right.
I mean, that's just reality. I guess to some degree, from what you've told me, maybe I should be flattered in that my name would even be mentioned in the same sentence with two very prominent investigative reporters like Lee Zurich and Chris Nakamoto. Of course, I'm sure all three of us may say, okay, and who's the fourth member of this club?
Yeah.
You know, but I just want to thank you for your service, like I first said. And I know I represent, I mean, I know I'm speaking for an awful lot of folk. And folk, we're going to let you see the interviews for these internal affairs. Captain Guillotte has been gracious enough to provide me with those videos. As y'all know, this is a video blog. I think videos speak far better. We're also going to link certain documents that you'll be free to look at that he has referenced here. And when I formed this blog, it's called Sound Off Louisiana. It was with the intent that hopefully people would come forward and sound off. It's kind of ironic that for so many years, I would have occasionally somebody would do it, but a lot of times they would give me material and then they'd put that burden on me, which I don't mind. Then I would have to stand in front of the camera and say, well, this is what our sources are telling us. And I know that's for obvious reasons, because you're going to have problems if you come on camera, especially with state police. You just can't do it.
Absolutely.
You just cannot do it.
But it's a violation of policy.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then, of course, you're going to be retaliated against.
Correct.
Even outside of the policy violation, you definitely will be retaliated against.
And
I can assure you. And I didn't come forward to give any information to you, and they came after me.
Well, it would be just so much nicer if LSP would be totally transparent, not have some of the backs. Well, I'm going to cut it off there and let you finish up, because that's my whole goal, is for us to have an agency that we can be thoroughly proud of. And I don't mean imitation pride. Well,
yeah, I'm going to say this. I came to share my story.
Yes.
There's many stories similar to mine out there.
Yes.
But I truly believe that we still have a great agency.
Well,
I think we've fallen short on leadership. We have a leadership program. In order to go through the promotional process, you have to take these courses. And I was an instructor in them. Mm-hmm. And I firmly believe they're phenomenal leadership courses. The problem is the leaders don't have the gonads or the stones to follow it.
Yes.
When the top administration is doing things that aren't in line with that leadership program. And it seems to be the solution, hey, if what I want to do doesn't match policy, let's just change policy.
Right.
Or let's just change State Police Commission rules or make exemptions for them. Being detailed a position. You have a commander that's detailed a command position that is not eligible to be promoted. Well, that detailed position is not supposed to be permanent. Mm-hmm. But it's gone on for quite some time. And until that particular individual can pass the test, mm-hmm. He's just a detailed commander. Mm-hmm. Things like that to me isn't right, because you got guys in that area that probably would do a great job.
Yes.
That are eligible, mm-hmm. that do have a captain's score,
mm-hmm.
but aren't afforded the opportunity because the right or the administration's guy, is not able to get promoted, so we're not going to post it, or we're not going to let you compete for it. We're just going to do what we want to do as an administration, no matter what the rules say. But yet we're going to hold you accountable on a higher level when you accidentally send an email out.
Right.
I don't like hypocritical leadership at all, and that's been my conflict mm-hmm. with this administration for quite a while.
Well, if you've got any concluding remark you'd like to make, I
appreciate the opportunity. Again, I want to reiterate my love for the agency.
Sure.
As an entity, and the guys that work with the state police. The majority of them are wonderful people. Mm-hmm. I just wish that as we move up through the ranks, that we continue to fight for what's right and do what's right, and not just look out for our own career at the expense of others.
Right.
Sometimes doing the right thing is not going to be the best for your career. Right. But it's what's right.
Right.
And look, I made it to captain, so I tried to make it to major. They told me several times it wasn't going to happen. Uh-huh. It is what it is, but I made it, to a command level, and I'm very fortunate for that opportunity, to have had that opportunity. So, I can't say that I had a bad career at all.
Oh, no.
I love my career and enjoy the people I worked with the whole time. Mm-hmm. So, I appreciate it.
Well, and thank you for coming on. Folks, we know we have some upcoming features that you are going to want to stay tuned for. We're getting, as I was telling earlier, we're getting more and more people now, be it EMS. Everybody knows I've been reporting on EMS. I'm so thrilled that the original formation of this blog, which was to have people on to sound off, is now I'm getting folks coming left and right. Captain Guillotte is one of those, and I want to thank him, and I want to thank everybody for your loyal dedication to our Sound Off blog. Thank you so much, and we'll look to see you again real soon on another edition of Sound Off Louisiana.